Proud of You is a parenting advice podcast and support group for dads hosted by two goofy dads. They are not pediatricians, nutritionists, OBGYNs, psychologists, nor are they authorities on parenting. They're just two dinguses trying to figure it all out. Their advice should not be taken as expert information. Parenting looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to be a dad. Frankly, if you're taking the time to listen to a podcast about it, you're already doing a great job. And these dads are proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Welcome back. I'm Derek Mata.
And I am Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you. This week, we are talking about something very important, and it's a very broad topic. One that we've kind of touched on in a couple episodes in the past, and it's the concept of checking in. Checking in with yourself, checking in with your partner, checking in on your life, and just seeing where you're at, and taking stock of where you're at. The impetus for this episode, Derek is currently on a dry week, and I'm drinking a nice tonic water with lime in solidarity with Derek, even though this isn't my personal dry week.
And I have Neo with remnants of my morning coffee in here.
Gross. But we were talking about it, and you know, Derek, please feel free to jump in here, but you know, Derek's taking a dry week because he kind of just took a step back and was like, hey, I'm drinking a little bit too much. I'm gonna take a page out of your book, and I'm gonna have a dry week and check in about it.
Yeah, so I mean, as anybody who has watched this podcast has seen, that I always have a full beer, and it's not the small mug either, and by the end of it I'm always done. What you don't see is that I have a little sip of bourbon beforehand also. And then as the night goes on, I'll have, you know, maybe another beer, maybe another scotch. And I'm like, that's a lot to do. So it's like, you know what? I'm becoming too reliant on this I'm an insomniac. So like I was using it to sleep, using it to cope with stress, and just using it as a comfort. And I was like, I've got to pull myself back because it's a bad thing. And yes, I know in our alcohol episode, you had mentioned that sometimes if after a week you're still wanting it, you take that other week.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not going to lie. Come tomorrow, I am going to have a beer because
yeah.
I mean, I enjoy drinking too. Not in excess of my party days in my early 20s, but I do realize that I do need to slow it down a lot because I'm 35 years old. Recovery time isn't what it used to be.
Yeah. One and it goes for a lot of things, right? And like one, kudos to you for recognizing that, hey, maybe this is a problem. Let's check in about it. Taking a week off, and like, you know, tomorrow have a beer, enjoy it. If you're not like dying for one, there's a difference between like, I want a beer and man, I need a drink, right?
Yeah.
And so like, you know, I'm like I said, I take quarterly dry weeks. I would almost go as far as to say religiously. Like it's something that I take very seriously because I have a history of alcoholism in my family, and I don't ever want to slip down that slippery slope. But like I'm currently on not a full blown like caffeine cleanse. But for those of you who know, Derek included, I drink Monster Energy drinks like they're going out of style. I have,
yeah, you do
1 to 2 a day, sometimes 3 a day, and I have since I was like 14 years old. I'm going on 3 weeks not having any energy drinks, because I realized that I was spending like $80 a month on Monster, and it's not good for me. I wasn't really getting anything out of it because I've had 2 a day since I was 14. So like, it's not like that caffeine and sugar is doing anything for me, other than
comfort,
keeping me steady. I like the taste. I like drinking them. They're basically just sodas, right? Like I like having them in the same way that other people like having, you know, growing up, my mom had a Diet Coke every single morning. And like it was just her comfort thing. Like she didn't like coffee and she woke up and had a Diet Coke. And so like I've been the same way with Monster. Like whether it's actually the thing that's waking me up, it's just how I start my day and it's that habit. Um, but I realized like what am I getting out of this, right? Like other than it being like a vice and and it does like I said, it does bring me joy. It makes me happy. Um, but like uh, you know, I'm spending so much money and for what? And
Yeah.
there's so many things like that, right? Like alcohol, caffeine. Um, there's there's a lot of things that you can overdo it with. And it's important as a person and as a parent just to check in and make sure that you're, you know, you don't even necessarily have to do anything about it, right? You can check in and say, "Hey, I'm drinking 2 Monsters a day and I love it and I'm going to keep doing it," right? You can say like, "I have a beer every night and it's not affecting me. I don't feel like I have a problem." Or like, what you're doing, right? Like you're taking a dry week and tomorrow you're going to go back to drinking and that's fine. It doesn't have to end forever. I will definitely have Monsters again in my life. My goal isn't to completely cut that thing out of my life. It's to not do it in excess, right? It's to do it in a level that feels good to me, whatever that moderation might be, right? And for some people, maybe that's one a day instead of three a day. Um, be it coffee, beers, cigarettes, whatever, like whatever your
Yeah.
vice is, just easing that down.
Because I'll say that, like, since we're on that caffeine, like, so, I'll drink one of these a day. Well, this holds about 4 cups of coffee. And then if I'm really tired, I'll put some hot tea in here.
Mhm.
Well, by the end of the day, I have had a bunch of caffeine. So by the end of the night, what am I using to bring myself back down? Oh, what do you know? Alcohol. And then it's just like an endless cycle. So, sometimes you have that one monster turns into two, and well, 2 monsters isn't doing it for me anymore. Let's have three. Oh, three's not doing it. Like really take stock in what you are. I don't even want to say consuming because we're going to touch on work here in a minute, but just really make sure that you're not constantly needing that more because eventually what level are you going to get to?
Yeah,
When in my military and contractor days, I was probably consuming at least 1,000+ milligrams of caffeine a day,
yeah, man.
just to
I mean,
get myself going in the morning.
yeah, and that's it. So like when you're talking about substances, right? It's usually about lowering that threshold. Because typically you're not checking in and going, "Man, I'm not drinking enough." But hey, water, like how much water are you drinking? Bet you it's not enough. Like
Yeah.
it like and that's so I guess there is kind of the flip side there. But my point is, and I guess that's a good segue here is it's not about hitting a specific level. It's about understanding where you're at and where you want to go from there. Um,
That's fair.
Derek, you mentioned work, right? As a dad, are you working too much? Like, are you putting too much stress on yourself? Are you, spending too much time at the office and not enough time with your kids? I'm not saying you specifically, Derek,
No, no,
because I
no, I
know you
know.
are.
No,
But
I'm not. I don't spend enough time in the office. What are you talking about?
you work every Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I work 6 days a week, about 3 to 4 weeks out of the month. So I do work too much, and I won't even say like that's my huge thing. I know like there's a lot of dads, a lot of moms. I know our podcast is very dad specific. So if I leave moms out of it who listen to this, my apologies. No offense to you guys. But there are dads who will work. Let's take truck drivers. You work 7 days a week, 2 weeks, you get 2 days off. Like
Yep. It's
it,
a
you,
it's a grind of a life.
and it's kind of like the money's good, but what are you missing out on? Is that what you want to do? And then your kid turns 18, and then you're like, wow, I wish I had. Like, it's that what if game. Do you want to play that what if game later, or do you want to play it now and really make some changes for the better?
Yeah. One and there's always a payoff, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always a trade-off because like I worked way too much in my young career. Like way too many hours, ground my ass to the bone. Uh but I did that when I was young, dumb, and single,
Mhm.
so that when, now I'm old, broken, and married.
Old,
Whatever
yeah,
the
okay.
I'd say wise and single, or like wise and married, but the opposite of young, dumb, and single. But I'm not. I don't know that I've risen to the level of wise just yet.
You need a little more
But
gray in that
but like,
beard.
yeah, but like I, I'm at a place where I can provide for my family working 40 hours a week, and I don't have to be working overtime and taking on extra shifts. And, if I want to bring in some extra income so that I can do a special thing, or if I want to bring in some extra income so that I can pay down some debt or whatever that looks like, then I have that option available to me, but I don't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, um, take it the other way around. They kind of goof off through their young career, the beginning of their career, their 20s, if you will. And so then when they start a family, they're in a position where, hey, we've got a kid now. I need to take on a second job, or whatever that looks like. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I knew, for me, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be able to be with my family as much as possible when I had a family. And I wanted to be at a position in my career where I didn't have to be, out working. Not to say that I don't work hard now, but I didn't want to be doing manual labor in my 30s and 40s, right? Like that was
Yeah.
that was not what I didn't want to be laying brick when I was 30 and 40 years old, because the older you get, man, like you said it about alcohol, that come down time is a lot harder. You injure yourself in a blue collar job when you're in your 30s and
Yeah.
40s, it takes you a lot longer to get back into the workforce.
You can't rub some dirt in it and
Um,
walk it off anymore.
yeah. So, just having that check-in of, hey, like, what how much am I working? How do I feel about that? And why am I working as little or as much as I am, right? Am I not working enough? Are we struggling with bills every single month and I need to pick up those Saturdays, or I need to work some overtime, or whatever your position.
And
Everybody's jobs situations are different, right? Like,
so, and it's funny that you mention it because, yeah, and when I was younger, what, second divorce was a couple years ago. Damn, almost 10 years ago now. I worked overseas. I worked by law, I was allowed 1 day off. I worked all but 1 day out of the month. And so when I got remarried, made my family bigger, kept buying more cool stuff because I've got money, I'm gonna enjoy it.
yeah.
I had that same mindset of like, I did it in my 20s, I can do it again. Like it wears you out. Like, let me tell you, the Saturday and Sunday that I get off once a month, like it's not long enough. And I'm just like, I sit there at my desk staring at a screen, much like this, and I'm just kind of looking at what my kids are doing, and they want to go do stuff, and I can't do anything because guess what? My obligation is this. So, another thing that I have recently had to take stock in my own life, that I'm selling my fun car to pay off my other car to pay off the wife's car, just so we can kind of, I don't want to say our heads are above water, but so we're in a more comfortable spot. Like, I realize that buying all the fun stuff is cool until you realize the debt collectors are always going to want their shit, and eventually the bills meet up with you. So
Yeah.
I work too much and I know it, and I don't know how to make a change. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. One, and I mean, recognizing it is the hard part, right? I mean, that's the first step to anything, is recognizing that there's a problem, because you can't fix a problem that you don't know about. Um,
True.
which is what that check-in is for, right? Um, Similarly, like, uh physical check-ins, right? I'm 33 years old now, and I just started seeing a chiropractor regularly and put together like a wellness plan with my chiropractor. They're a holistic group, right? So it's not just chiropractic; it's focused on the full body experience. Because I realized, like, I'm sick of waking up every morning with an achy back and a sore neck. I'm sick of having my shoulder crack 6 times every time I rotate my rotator cuff. Like, I want to do something about this. I want to make a difference. And I am in the very privileged position of being able to afford chiropractic care. So I'm seeing a chiropractor about it, right? And I'm taking that difference in my life. There's so many different ways that you can check in, right? And like just take stock of everything that's in your life, right? Whether it's alcohol, whether it's caffeine, whether it's work, sex, masturbation, your relationship with your significant other. One of the big things that Emily and I kind of constantly check in about is just our parenting style and like the things that we're doing for Alana and the way that we want to approach those things, right? So like obviously toddler life, potty training is a big one, right? There's a million different
Yes.
ways that you can potty train your kid. We want to be on the same page and make sure that we're doing the same thing. So we are constantly checking in like, hey, this is how this went today. We used this verbiage, or like she'll see me saying a thing and be like, hey, just so you know, like usually when we do that, I say this. And it tends to work better for us because Alana responds well to that word instead of this word or that suggestion instead of an ask or instead of saying uh what was it recently that so like diaper changes. We've been having issues because Alana doesn't want to have her diaper changed. We give her
It's
free reign. We give her free reign and choice over just about everything we can, but there are certain things where like if it is fun or if it is optional, you get your say. But if it is safety or health related, sometimes you have to do what mom and dad think,
fair.
right? Because she doesn't want to be buckled into her car seat, but she has to.
Mhm.
So she doesn't get to choose there. But if she wears blue jeans or her pink dress to the park, I don't give a fuck. That's her choice. And so, anyway, I digress. Alana doesn't want to have her diaper changed. And normally, when she has a dirty diaper, and I know, or a wet diaper, whatever, when her diaper needs changing, I'll say, like, hey, baby, can I change your diaper? Well, that's always no now.
Yeah.
So now I've started saying, like, hey, your diaper needs to be changed. Do you want me to do it on the couch or do you want to do it in the bedroom? And I'm still giving her that choice. I'm still giving her that freedom. I'm not saying, sit your ass down, I'm changing your diaper, right? I am,
Yeah.
but I'm giving her the freedom there. And that's something that Emily and I talked through and kind of just figured out like, hey, this feels good to us because it doesn't feel like we're forcing her into something, but it does take a little bit of the choice out of her hands. This is all to say, one of the joys of my relationship is that Emily and I get along really well because we check in about stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it can be really frustrating, and especially when it's stuff with your kid, right? Like it can be really challenging. If I see, and again, because Emily and I check in about it, we don't really have it a lot in our relationship, but like we'll see other parents that and like you always try not to judge other people, right? That's the goal. But like we'll see the way that somebody talks to their kid and be like, hey, never, don't ever, like I would, no, don't talk to our kid that way, right? Like not to them, but like to each other. um but like having those check-ins, like because if I saw Emily like doing something to Alana or like forcing her to do something that she didn't want to do, it would be heartbreaking and frustrating and challenging for me, right? And so by checking in and making sure that we're on the same wavelength, um we don't run into those issues.
Yeah. I mean,
In
it's
the same way that if you check in on how often you're drinking, you don't end up dependent on your drinking.
and like it doesn't even have to be, because you're saying like parenting, which is a fantastic thing because we're going to start potty training Ivy here soon. So obviously we want to make sure that we're on the same page when, like you said, when it comes to what to say, how to say it, when to say it, kind of thing. But even checking in on your partner's vices, are they drinking too much? Are they drinking too many monsters? And my wife is like you. She loves her monsters. Honey, I love you. And you love your monsters. But she'll drink 2 or 3 a day also. Monsters are full of bad shit. I don't remember the last time I had an energy drink because another check-in I did recently. Like I bought this fancy Apple Watch because I've been feeling past couple months, past couple years a certain way. And I was like, I always feel this way after drinking a monster. And so I have cut those out. And like I said, I couldn't tell you the last time I drank one. I guess the not to include the rebels from Dutch Bros, but like I don't
Which
go
is just
to
a monster by any other name. But
it's yeah, it's a Red Bull, but like I don't like I used to every Friday when I filled up the car, I would go buy three at the gas station. I couldn't tell you the last time I purchased one, and I may have Dutch Bros once every other week, maybe once a month, kind of
yeah,
thing. Um, but yeah, I
it's a
mean,
joy, not a vice.
yes, but it's I realized it was becoming a problem when I needed that thing. I wake up hungover on Saturday morning for drinking too many beers Friday night, and I needed my monster, and then I felt like shit. But not to go into my whole shit again. But sometimes your partner needs to be checked, needs a checking in, and because they don't want to say anything. And it goes both ways. Sometimes your partner will check on you, sometimes check on your partner. Because as what our last episode, sometimes you just want that person to be there, and you want that to know that person is there. Just ask that question. Hey, how are you feeling? Hey, are you dealing with any struggles? Hey, I've noticed that your three monsters a day has turned into five. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. Well, and so like checking in on your partner's vices is super critical and really great as well, right? But that doesn't necessarily just go for vices. Um, hey, we have a toddler. Are you getting enough sleep? Do you need me to take her for like do you need me to take the night shift for a little while so you can catch up? Hey, I noticed that Alana has eaten today, but you haven't because you've been chasing her around and taking care of her, and you're doing an incredible job as a mom. But how are you doing as a human? Are you, what's your mental load like? Where are your spoons at? Emily and I have those check-ins all the time, right? With like, hey, who's going to take Alana for bed, right? Because Alana is a very like involved. We have chosen to provide her with a very involved bedtime, right? She doesn't just go and lay down in her crib and fall asleep. I bounce her, I sing her a lullaby, we rock in the chair, we read a story, and then she falls asleep. Um, and so I'm the primary bedtime parent. I do that. That's my routine. But there are days where like I've had a really long day at work, or I've just had a stressful week, or I'm just not feeling good, right? For whatever reason, whether that's
Yeah.
mental, physical, emotional, any combination of those. And Emily will be like, "Hey, like I see that you're running low. Do you want me to take bedtime tonight?" And sometimes I'm like, "No, you know what? Like that consistency is actually gonna really help settle me in." And sometimes I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be so nice. Thank you. I could definitely use a break." And same for her, right? Where like there's days where I get off work where I'm like, "Okay, I'm done with work. Time for me to de-stress." And then there are other times where I'm like, "I'm off work. Oh man, Emily is running on fumes. I'm gonna go take that baby right away so that, that she can get a break and catch up."
I will say that works for you. In my household, it does not work because guess what? It does it as if they can smell mom, if they know that she's on the premises, they don't give a fuck about dad.
Yeah.
So I have made I mean, it has been a while. Like I have made the suggestion, like, hey, I'll get up with the kids, or hey, how about you just go lay down? And she's like, no, because if I hear the kids crying or whining or whatever, like I won't be able to relax, or it'll be the kids knocking on the door, mom, 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 mom. Like, and it's just they are mom. I don't know if you've seen the video, or if I sent it to you, of the invisible dad. Like they will
Yeah.
walk right by dad to go ask mom something, that dad's capable of answering or doing. That's my household. So while the olive branch has been put out there, it unfortunately does
Well,
not work for us.
totally. But that so like caring for your partner is going to look different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
You can show up for April in other ways, right? If you can't like just physically cannot take the kids for whatever reason, and a lot of the time that reason is that mom won't let you take the kids. We'll talk about that in another episode. Um, but like if that's the case, right? Everything that you just said, because I know that's valid. Everything you just said, 100% the reality that you're experiencing. Okay. So like while she's chasing the kids around and being mom because she has to be, fill up her water for her to make sure that she's getting enough to drink. Grab her lunch and like bring her food and like sit and kind of be primary parent while she shovels some food in her mouth so that she can keep going, like there are ways that you can check in and relieve some of that stress. And I'm not saying that you don't do these things, for the record. I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of ways that you can take care of your partner and make sure that they're not burning out, other than just straight up picking up, like taking the kids away, right?
Put them in the car. We're leaving.
Put them in the. I mean, that's honestly, that was my default for a long time, because Alana is that way. Like, I do bedtime with Alana, but the other 23 hours of the day, she is a mom exclusive baby. She wants to be with mom. And so, like, when I want to give Emily a break, I take Alana shopping. Like, I go to the store because I can get her the fuck out of the house so that she can't see, hear, or smell mom. And then Emily can take a shower or take a nap or read her book or watch a TV show on the couch and have all of her hands to herself and be watching something that's not Blaze and the Monster Machines or Bluey. Like, and so like, again, that's support too, right? I met a guy recently in well, we won't go into that, but I met a guy, and he and I were talking about kind of this sort of thing. And he told me what him and his partner do, and I actually really like it and have been kind of adopting it a little bit with Emily, where multiple times throughout the day, when him and his partner see each other, or like when he's at work and he calls his wife and they talk, or when she's out at the store and they talk, or whatever, they'll check in and say, "Hey, 1 to 100, how are you right now?"
Huge scale.
Well, I mean, and you can limit that however you want, right? 1 to 10, 1 to 5, 1 to whatever. But like, if you say like, "Hey, where you at?" Like, it's basically just like, "Hey, do you have spoons?" Right? Like, do you have energy left? Are you, like, how are you doing? And it's usually, "Hey, I see, it seems externally, it seems like you're struggling," right? Whether that's emotionally, physically, mentally, hungry, thirsty, whatever. To me, it seems like you could use some help. And if I say, "Hey, babe, where you at 1 to 100?" And Emily's like, "Oh, 99, I'm good." Cool. I'm going to go fuck off. I'm going to go do what I want to do. If she's like 3, I'm like, "All right, I'm taking the kid, I'm putting you in bed. This is red alert. We're getting out," right? And there's a huge spectrum in between that, right?
Yeah.
You said 1 to 100 is a big scale, right? 50% could be not great, right? Like, you need a recharge. Some days Lana and I are fucking killing it, and I'm at 110. Like, there's, it just depends on what that looks like. But again, it's that means of communication, right? Language exists to express ideas. And for them, that communication works really well, because it's a way for them to comfortably say, "Hey, where are you at and how are you doing?" without the potentially triggering verbiage of saying, "It seems like you're having a hard time," right? Because especially, and again, we paint with a broad brush a lot on this show, especially for moms, if you say, "Hey, it seems like you're having a hard time," a lot of the time your partner is going to hear that as, "I'm doing something wrong," or "I'm not good enough," or "I'm not strong enough," "I'm not," whatever that is, right?
Taken that way.
It brings up a lot of the insecurities that people have in motherhood and in life. And so by finding a way to check in and to say that without saying it, right? It creates a healthy communication pathway where you can say like, "Hey, you good?"
No, I mean, it's because I know, like, with the whole communication is like you were saying, you can always, what is it, the encoding decoding, you can always decode it in like a, "Why are you asking me that? Why are you saying it like that?" And then
Yeah,
that will
of
start a
course.
fight that does not need to happen. So I like the scale thing. Obviously, like you said, make it work for whatever you need, for anybody listening.
Yeah.
And
And again,
sometimes, oh, keep going.
I was just gonna say, and again, it doesn't have to be 1 to 100. It can be, "Hey, how many spoons you got? Hey, like, 5 stars, how you doing?" Like,
I've got 3 spoons,
whatever
one
that
went missing.
language, whatever language that works, like, for you and your partner. Like, you just kind of have to figure that out, take stock in your relationship, and find a way. And like, I'm talking about partners, because this is a parenting podcast and we're talking about, dads and that, but like this could go for friendships too, right? Like
That's right.
there are definitely like when you and I used to work together, when you and I used to work together in the same office and like corporately work together, um, there were days where like you can see when somebody's dragging, right? And
Yeah.
so I'd be like, "Hey, dude, you good?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, man, I'm just tired," or like, "Nah, like XYZ is going wrong," right? Like you'd have that check-in with anybody in your life, and I think those check-ins and that kindness and care for other people is what keeps humanity going.
And again, like I said it earlier, sometimes somebody just like wants to be asked. They don't want to feel like they're, imposing on anybody, but they want that person. And don't ask just to be like, "Hey, how's it going?" and walk away. Like, if you ask somebody the question, be willing to sit there with you, because I bet you, I know me, I'm like, man, I'm having a bad day and I wish somebody would ask, because I don't want to impose on anybody's life. So if you're like, "Hey, what's going on?" Cool. How much time do you have?
Yeah.
It never hurts, because again, we're all in different places at different times in our lives.
Yeah, and it can take practice to figure out what that genuine check-in looks like with the people in your life, right? Because we've all experienced let's call it, excuse me, let's call it the deli counter, "Hey, how are you?" Right? When
I
I
can see it.
when I when I go to Jersey Mike's and I walk up to the counter and they go, "Hey, how you doing today?" They don't want to know, man. They're not actually
What?
asking that question.
Damn it! I was about to
Um,
go spill my heart to them.
so when you ask somebody, "Hey, how's it going?" And I think that's why figuring out the verbiage is so important, right? Because even "Hey, how's it going?" Like a lot of the time when I ask Emily, like, "Hey, how's it going?" She'll be like, "Good." And I'm like, "No, really, how's it going?" Right? Or like I actually want to know, right? That this isn't a platitude. This isn't a passing uh
Uh,
colloquialism.
yeah,
I actually want to know how you're doing. How are you? And it can take some time and take some practice, because a lot of the time, especially, when you're talking about your, romantic partners or your parenting, co-parenting partners, those are usually people who well, right?
yeah.
At least have some form of intimate relationship with, or have had a form of intimate relationship with. But like for you and me, right? Like a lot of the time when I'm like, "Hey, Derek, how's it going?" Like it can still be that kind of weird, like corporate dude speak where it's like, "Oh, we don't talk about feelings."
We don't.
Like,
I don't
right?
talk about feelings.
Whereas like if you want to actually break down those walls and have those kind of relationships, you just kind of got to practice it a little bit. Like, "Hey, like, no, for real, like, what's going on in your life?" You know,
How much time do you have?
all the time in the world, baby.
This podcast ain't long enough. Um, I had something I wanted to say, and I lost it. Um, I will. Oh, that's what it was. I am terrible at controlling my. I don't want to say controlling my own. Showing my own emotion. So sometimes knowing a different avenue to have somebody reach out to said person, friend, family member, loved one, whoever it is. "Hey, I've noticed that Goody's been feeling down lately. I'm gonna hit up Nathan Cody, and I'm gonna be like, hey, take him out for a beer." Obviously, I would go out with a beer, but like,
Yeah,
for
no, no, no. I
example
see what you mean.
purposes, I'd be like, "Hey, he's down. Go do something with him, like something that you enjoy. Hey, go out to the range. Hey, have a beer. Hey, go golfing." I'm pretty sure you don't golf, but just have that avenue for the other person, because we all want to get away sometimes, right?
Yeah, and that's a great thing to have with your partner too, right? Because a lot of the time, if I so like Emily's a stay-at-home mom, right? And a lot of the time that means that she's not getting a great amount of human interaction with adults on a regular basis, because her 9 to 5 is talking to a toddler and watching Bluey. And so there come times when I'm like, "Hey, I can see that you're craving human emotion, or like human emotion, human interaction. Um, why don't you, go over to your sister's place? Why don't you go and schedule a girls' day with your best friend or whatever?" And if I suggest that to Emily, again, a lot of the time that can be that can bring up some of those insecurities of like, oh, what am I doing wrong, right? Or like, what's the issue? Or it's just sometimes it's hard to prioritize yourself, right? I know it is for
Mhm.
me, right? I will prioritize Emily and Alana and even you and like my friends and family. I will put them at the top of the world, and I will grind myself into the gutter to make sure that they stay there, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so easy for me to take care of other people. It's a lot harder for me to take care of myself. And so if I'm like, "Hey babe, you should go do that." She'll be like, "No, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm okay." Whereas if I call her sister or I call her best friend and I'm like, "Hey, Emily hasn't talked to anybody who's not me or a toddler in a week. Go go to the bookstore, go to a movie, go grab a drink, go do whatever you guys do." Like take her. I'm gonna take the baby for 2 hours. You take the Emily for 2 hours. We'll meet up afterwards.
I,
Um, and it can be easier for Emily to accept, oh, my sister called me and wants to hang out. I'm gonna go
mhm.
do that rather than I want this human interaction. I'm gonna call my sister and hang out with her for 2 hours.
No, exactly. Like, I have said many times to my wife and to people I try having take her away as I get her the fuck out of my house. And I've told it to my wife. It's a relationship we have. So it's not
Yeah.
nobody take this the wrong way. And as you can like we joke all the time and I tell her all the time, obviously with a smile on my face, is like get the fuck out of my house. Go do something.
Yeah.
Like obviously I can keep the kids alive. And I tell her that too. Like I can keep the kids alive, you're fine. Go shopping, go XYZ. Problem is sometimes I'm like, hey, I want to come with you. And then the kids obviously are in tow. So
Yeah. No, and it's always, I mean, that's parenting always adds that dynamic, right? Of like somebody's got to have the kids.
yeah. Even though you want to spend time with your partner does need, especially like our wives, mine works from home. So it's still with the kids full time. Only interaction is via email or the occasional phone call from her sister, her friend, or whatever. But like, again, phone calls are not like going out to dinner, going out to the movie. I guess I can't say movie because you're not talking in a movie, but it's not that having fun talking to somebody who is an adult. Um, and we need that. As adults, we need that because we're adults.
Yeah. And that's a great tying it back in. That's a great check-in, right? To just see how your partner's doing and see if they need to talk to an adult.
I
Um,
know I know it's important for the wife to talk to adults.
yeah. Well, and hey, it's important. Like there've been, when I take Alana for a weekend and Emily goes and is the adult, right? Like by the time Monday rolls around, I'm like, I would love to talk to somebody who speaks in complete sentences. That'd be dope. Right? Like,
You say that, but
so
Noah speaks in complete sentences, and man, it's still not like talking to a person.
yeah, toddler sentences are different. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. One, and again, I mean, this just goes to say like there's a lot of things, and I mean the list goes on and on, right? I mean, financial check-ins, right? How's our budget doing? Are, is there anything like that we want to buy that we need to discuss, right? If we're buying a new TV or we're buying a new bed or we're buying a new car, um, at least the way that our relationship works, those aren't choices that we make independently. Those are choices that we make together. So, hey, let's check in. I'm really sick of my car. I'm frustrated with it. I want to get a new one. Okay. What's the reality of that look like? Well, we don't have money for a car. Okay, cool. What are we going to do about that? I can work some more shifts. We can cut back here, this and this and this, right? Like you can have those financial check-ins and talk about that kind of stuff. Hey, like it doesn't have to be a car. It can be rent this month.
It
Like
could be groceries, like
uh
something as simple as, the thing we buy every single week.
Emily and I have a budget because I spend money and she does not. And that created problems in our relationship for a really long time.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm guilty of it too. I like to
you
buy
know,
expensive things.
yeah. One, and like you mentioned groceries, health check-ins are a huge thing, right? Like when Emily and I both like eating clean and we try to be as like ecologically friendly as possible while still being like as healthy as possible. Usually those things go hand in hand, but we don't use a lot of like paper plates or plastic forks. We eat primarily stuff that we can buy locally. And we like to cook. And we had a baby, and she was a C-section. So like Emily was basically on bed rest and I was exhausted. We had a conversation before she was born that like, hey, when we have a baby, we're going to give ourselves some grace. We're going to use those plastic forks and plates so that we don't have to do dishes. We're going to have some frozen pizzas in the fridge so that we can, or in the freezer, I guess, so that we can just put fuel in the tank. It doesn't have to be a handmade chicken cordon bleu made with locally raised chickens who we know the name of. It can be fucking Taco Bell tonight because we like this is the season of life that we're in. We can give ourselves some grace here. And then after a while of that, we were like, hey, Lana's a little bit older. We're both getting a little bit of our, we're alive again. Our energy is coming back. We care about these things. Let's refocus on some of the healthier foods and some of the stuff that and it's not always about health, right? Some of it's just joy, right? Like I love a good freezer corn dog. And sometimes
Me too.
I need a shitty freezer corn dog because it makes me happy. And sometimes I don't want to keep them in the house because if we have a box of 36 of them, that's my meal for the next, that's 3 squares a day. Like,
That's me with the frozen taquitos in the freezer right now.
Yeah. And so, those things go in flux. Emily and I just had a check-in recently because Alana has been asking for candy a lot. And it's not, we don't demonize sugar and it's not that, but it's like, hey, she's asking for that because we've been keeping a lot of snacks in the house and all 3 of us are feeling it. Like all 3 of us are kind of like sugar drained because we've had a bunch of shit in the house. Maybe we need to cycle some of that out and still have some Oreos in the back of the pantry and still have some gummy bears because those bring us joy. But up in the front, have the almonds and the fruit and the things that actually feed our body and nourish our body and make us feel good in our bodies rather than just the processed sugar that we've been getting joy out of again, right? Like that's not necessarily a bad thing that we're eating candy, but like it's a moderation game, right?
Yeah, and it just, kind of tying the finances back into it is they might be the cheapest thing, but in the long run, what's it going to cost you? Like, yes, I know some of us can be healthy until we're 90 eating gummy bears and Oreos, but like it may be cheap, but what is it actually doing for your body? Because it's not fuel, it's just that quick burst of energy. So check your finances because we recently did a check-in on our own finances and realized that our grocery bill is way too high and what can we cut back on and what is good, what's bad, that kind of thing. And I want to say we almost halved. So that doesn't sound right either. Cut in half. We almost cut in half, and we're gonna see how long we can do that and where it goes.
Yeah. Well, and as a last piece here, I've talked a lot about moderation. One of my favorite quotes that lives rent free in my brain. Oscar Wilde said, "All things in moderation, including moderation." And
I've read that one.
The purpose of that is, it's important to keep things in balance, right? A little bit of alcohol is okay. Drinking 7 days a week, it can be a problem. A little bit of, shit weasel taquitos and freezer corn dogs is good and it brings you joy. Eating nothing but frozen processed food is bad for you. But sometimes it's okay to let loose too, right?
Yep.
Moderating your moderation can be bad. I don't think that you should get blackout drunk 7 days a week. But on your birthday, if you want to let go and have fun and go crazy, as long as you understand the repercussions of what that's going to look like tomorrow, go have fun. Like, don't,
story.
Again, all things in moderation, including moderation.
No, I like that. Love it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending your time with us. And, as we talked about a lot in this episode, there's so much that's fighting for your time. There's so much that's fighting for your money and your attention. We're honored to be a part of that, even if it's just 30 minutes to an hour out of your week. We're so proud of you and so happy to be a part of your life and a part of your journey here. So thank you for watching the show. Thanks for sharing it. We've been seeing some more traction on social media, and we really appreciate all of you for that. We've been pumping out a lot more short form content.
I'm working
Um,
on it.
Derek's doing a killer job posting clips from the shows up on our TikTok page and into our YouTube shorts. I'm going to get better about having them up on our Instagram as reels because for some reason Instagram doesn't like us and doesn't let me just post those straight from our TikTok. So we'll get there. All of our social links are down below. If you have a question or a topic idea for us, please reach out. Hit us up on our social links. You can comment on any of our posts, direct message us. You can always email us as well. You can find us pretty much everywhere at Proud of You Dads or at Proud of You. So just hit us up and let us know what you want us to talk about.
That's right.
Until next week, I'm Andrew Goody.
And I'm Derek Mata.
And we are proud of you.